featherweight beasts stack up against one another. Peter Petties is the taller fighter. The leg reach advantage goes to Andre Harrison, who is 2 inches shorter and 3 years the senior of the much younger and slightly less experienced challenger. Lillian Garcia gets the featherweight started again in the PFL cage.
The action continues as this next fight is scheduled for 3 rounds in the featherweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner. His style is Wu-Tang Shaolin, standing at 5 feet 10 inches tall, officially weighing in at 145 pounds. In 13 professional bouts, he has a record of 8 victories, 4 defeats, and 1 contest. Fighting out of Columbia, Maryland, here is Peter the Joker Petties. His opponent, fighting out of the red corner, he is a wrestler, standing at 5 feet 8, weighing in at 146 pounds. He has been victorious in 20 of his 21 fights. Give it up for one of your own, fighting out of Freeport, New York, right here in Long Island. Here is Andre the Bull Harrison. Your referee in charge, Steve Rita.
Peter Petties in the green trunks, Andre Harrison, the local favorite, in the silver. Can the free-flowing style of Petties overcome the methodical approach of Andre Harrison? We'll find out as featherweight action gets underway here at NYCB Live. Front kick misses there for Andre Harrison. Petties the southpaw, as is Andre Harrison. Nice leg kick lands.
Petties is standing very upright, and that can be dangerous against a good wrestler.
Very hips canted as well. In a more of a boxing, traditional boxing stance.
Yeah, he does. And the reason why he doesn't want to stand so high is because the wrestler gets beneath your hips, you're going to be a step behind. If Andre Harrison keeps his legs moving, if he takes a shot, it's going to be very, very hard for Petties to catch up and defend that takedown. So you want to stay low so that you can defend that takedown.
Well, we knew he was unorthodox. Didn't know how far that unorthodox style extended, and all the way into his stance. Standing high, relatively flat-footed, but so far in the early measuring out here, Peter Petties looks like he belongs.
He's also pretty tall for the weight, Petties is. Watching him on tape, he doesn't look as tall as he is. But standing next to him.
There's a takedown attempt from Harrison.
There's that double, and Andre had him up, but ran out of real estate, ran into the fence.
Exactly. And I believe that's why Andre was backing up early so he could run him over, but he took back some of that real estate and didn't have as much room to run his feet.
Petties down on one knee here against the cage.
Shuts the leg. Good job by Andre Harrison. And look at what Andre Harrison is doing with that near leg. He's shelving that on his thigh at times as Pettis is trying to elevate himself, because by shelving that, he's not allowing Pettis to get that leg back, get his hips back under his own control, and pull that leg out so that he can stand up.
Andre Harrison has that forearm trapped behind Pettis' back. And kind of almost a reverse seatbelt. It's going to make it difficult for Pettis to get up off there with one arm trapped.
That's difficult means the first thing he's got to do is address that before he can worry about getting up off his back.
Absolutely, go to the source of the problem.
And if I'm Andre Harrison right now, I want to step into that half guard, because right now Pettis can only turn away from Andre Harrison with that rear seatbelt on. But if he steps into the half guard, he's got his legs locked down and his arm trapped, and then he can work to free up that left arm, but Pettis is out of that seatbelt position.
He goes straight to over the neck and head of Andre Harrison when he gets that arm out. And I know from listening to Yves talk a lot, that's not where he would go with it.
I'm going straight for that underhook, and I wish Pettis would go for that underhook. He may be setting up something else, but that underhook is almost a sure way of disrupting Andre Harrison's control on top, keeping him a little uncomfortable and making it harder for him to keep that top position, harder for Andre Harrison to keep that top position. Pettis right now, to me, I consider that holding Andre Harrison on top of him. But he's unorthodox, and unorthodox guys do a lot of weird things and pull some crazy stuff off too.
We've seen Harrison's pressure be effective in a lot of his fights. 15 of his 20 wins come by decision. He's methodical. He'll grind you. He'll break you.
And Andre Harrison is a very athletic guy also, so having that athletic ability, being able to do a lot of the things that Peter Petties can do, the knowledge of that, he knows what he needs to do with his own hips to shut down some of that offense of Peter Petties. And that's where Peter is going to have to get very creative if he's not going to go with traditional defenses.
Harrison has fought at a higher level than Petties has, and he has nearly double the experience. Right now, it's top control for Andre Harrison, telling the story in round one.
Although Andre Harrison is winning this round, he's not doing a lot of damage, and that's a good sign for Peter Petties. Why? Because the next round they start on their feet. Right now, he's collecting all that data, right? And he may be able to figure out what he needs to do next round.
Round two next. Sean O'Connell, Randy Couture, Yves Edwards, cage side in Long Island. PFL 2, featherweights in action. Peter Petties in the green, Andre Harrison in the silver. And there's another kick attempt from Peter Petties. He promised us we would see some unorthodox kicking from him. Takedown attempt, this time stuffed by Petties.
Petties doing a little hip fake, kind of like Lyoto Machida does.
Another big body kick there. That one landed, looked like it hurt a little bit. Andre Harrison game facing, jumping knee attempt. And Harrison catches Petties and slams him for his efforts.
And that had a lot to do with Andre Harrison's fight IQ.
Andre Harrison once again pressing Peter Petties into the cage.
Andre Harrison is doing a good job. What Peter Petties wants to do, Peter Petties needs to circle his head this way so that he's no longer flat on the cage. He can circle his head. Peter Petties should get his head away from the fence, because if he can get his head away from the fence, then he can elevate. Otherwise, what he needs to do is pummel to those underhooks and shoulder walk. As long as Andre Harrison has this position, his arm is underneath on the far side. As long as Andre Harrison has that underhook, Pettis is going to be stuck up against that fence.
Around it now, he's mounted on the leg also and has elevated that left leg of Peter Petties, and it's just can't find points of pressure to get up.
It's a tough position to get your hips and create any leverage to create a scramble, to get to his knees or get to use that fence and that barrier to climb up and get back to his feet.
Absolutely.
Our Smart Cage Cageonomics fight tracker shows you that the story of this one has been Andre Harrison pressing his opponent against the cage and going to work in this position.
And this is how the story of fights change so quickly, because when Andre Harrison steps over Pettis' legs, Pettis no longer wants his back on the mat. He doesn't want that anymore, because Andre Harrison will be into a clean mounted position, and it's going to be even much harder to escape. Right now, he wants to keep his back on the fence if Andre Harrison gets those legs above Pettis' legs. But Andre Harrison is changing position so much. This elevated leg is going to keep Petties on the ground. He's just constantly moving into different positions.
Harrison's got an underhook with his right arm, and he's controlling Petties' right arm with his left. It's difficult for Petties to get anything going.
Petties needs to do some really, really educated hand fighting right here to get back to a good position where he can affect a defense or an escape.
Harrison's got his opponent flat on his back now. The right arm trapped underneath his leg.
What I like to see Harrison do is free up his own left arm and start punching with it. Like that. I think he's listening to me. And that lockdown position that Peter Petties has, it makes it harder for Andre Harrison to move into different positions. And that lockdown position is having his feet in like a having Pettis' feet in a figure 4 position and hooked onto Andre Harrison's leg that's trapped inside that half guard.
Well, as round 2 wanes here, this is one of the interesting things about Andre Harrison's style. We talk in the fighter meetings about the urgency and making sure you get points with early finishes, and he's one of the fighters who says it's about winning first, and he'll win by any means necessary, including these grinders.
Yeah, most of his fights go to a decision. 75% of his wins are by decision. That's 15 wins by decision.
So Petties talking back to his corner there as they instructed him on how to get up from here. Looking to Lloyd Irvin and saying, I got it. So far, he doesn't have it.
What Pettis needs to do is pummel that elbow inside, fight to get inside that grip.
If Pettis can arm all the way over, he'll end up in front of Harrison, and there's an arm triangle attempt.
But he's out of time here in round number 2. Round 3 when we come back. Featherweights in action here on Long Island. 2 rounds in the books. Peter Petties in the green, Andre Harrison in the silver, and an exchange to start off round number 3.
Big overhand left by Petties.
Pettis seems to have some urgency in his
He needs some urgency. He literally got rode out for 2 rounds.
Big left hand landed there. Nice defense and a movement by Petties to get Andre Harrison off of him. Remember, it was the flying knee in round 2 that allowed Harrison to catch him and take him down. He had some success in the very early goings. If Petties is smart here, he might find an advantage in the striking.
Yeah, he can't get too flashy. I mean, Andre Harrison is just as fast as he is, but he's much more patient and calculated. So he's got to keep Andre Harrison on the outside and affect this striking, because that's where he's having the best time in this fight.
The second takedown stuff by Peter Petties in round 3. Confidence builder for him, but he's got to get to work. 4 minutes left. And once again, he finds himself tied up with the bull, Andre Harrison. His corner calling for a 3-piece, wants combinations from Peter Petties.
Three-piece is the most popular piece in mixed martial arts.
So far, Pettis has only landed 3 total strikes. Nice leg kick from Andre Harrison. The feints are coming from Pettis, Eve, but another flying knee attempt, dangerous against the wrestler.
Get up under his face or underhook.
It's obvious Peter Pettis likes to take those risks.
Definitely an athletic fighter.
He finds his back against the cage here.
And this is where the trouble can come his way. He's got to separate from Andre Harrison. He's fighting that wrist control. He's controlling Harrison's wrist. What I would recommend him doing is palming that throat of Andre Harrison and pushing him away, creating some space. But Harrison is doing what he needs to do to hold on.
Pettis is talking during this entire fight, and now he circles away from the cage. He's got half a round left to try and make something happen here. And Andre Harrison once again drags Peter Pettis to the mat.
And that's a definitive takedown for Andre Harrison in this fight. Peter Petties has had a lot of trouble getting out from underneath the wrestler, Andre Harrison.
You see the relaxed face there from Peter Petties. With this much time left in a fight where you've been rode for as long as you have, that relaxation is probably not necessarily appropriate.
Yeah, you want to stay calm, but he's got to affect proper technique now. I mean, Harrison has shut down all of his unorthodox techniques, so he's got to start going back to the textbook. We're looking at Andre Harrison controlling on the outside of the cage from the top position. I mean, Harrison has been on top. Harrison has been grinding away, and being in that position, he's landing the more effective strikes. He's landing the more total strikes, and that's why he's ahead on the judges' scorecards in everybody's eyes, I believe.
Harrison doing a good job, effective job of lacing his leg and getting underneath the bottom leg of Peter Petties. It happened in round 1 and round 2.
Track that arm.
There's Keith Trimble and company in Harrison's corner.
Trap with your knee. Yeah. Let's go. Keep working the strike and trap. Pull him off the cage. Pull him off the cage.
A little blood now on Petties' forehead, and I'm not sure if that's coming from Andre Harrison, or if that's Petties that's been hit and cut by Andre Harrison.
1 minute left, and Harrison once again on top of Peter Petties.
Petties going to try and big buck and reversal here off of the fence. It'll be tough to move Andre Harrison. He's got such a strong base.
And look at how Andre Harrison is leaning into that position.
He takes the back of Peter Petties here, maybe. They'll ride it out in side control instead.
That crossface makes it hard for Peter Petties to turn into Andre Harrison. The crossface is with Andre Harrison's left arm across his chin. Now he's looking for that rear naked. And that's
still an extra bonus point on the line here.
Oh, he lost it. But there's a guillotine attempt by Andre Harrison.
5 seconds left in the round. Can Andre Harrison get the finish?
Petties clears the side
no legs.
Some action there late. Andre Harrison trying to get that extra point. Steal it at the end of the round. He rode out another methodical performance. Will it be enough in the eyes of the judges? We'll find out next on ESPN+. There's Andre Harrison, the local favorite here at PFL 2. Impressive performance. Randy, walk me through some of these takedowns.
Watch the level. There he absorbs the kick. But the pressure's coming from Petties, and that pressure is what's going to allow Andre Harrison to level change, hit that double leg, capture those hips, and put Petties on the ground. Again, level change, attacks that waist, picks him up, puts him, flares him, puts him on the ground.
A little bit of ground and pound here from Andre Harrison. A little exchange there. Petties' best work was done on the feet, but he spent a lot of time on the mat.
He absolutely spent a lot of time on his back. A little trip, follow that through.
Our smart cageonomics numbers. Ground strikes, 24 out of 31 of those landed. And also some effective kicking from Andre Harrison. What it doesn't show you is riding time on those 3 takedowns, but I think in the judges' scorecards, that might prove to be the difference. Which we'll find out inside of our PFL cage with Lillian Garcia.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards. All 3 judges scored the bout 30-27. For your winner by unanimous decision, earning 3 points in the featherweight division, Andre the Bull Harrison.
So Andre Harrison gets the bad taste out of his mouth from his lone career loss, follows it up with a win and 3 points. Good enough right now for 3rd place in the featherweight standings. Mavlid Haibulayev with 6, Luis Rafael Lorenzino with 6, both first-round knockout finishes. And Andre Harrison and Gaji Rabadanov ground out a couple of decision victories for 3 points in Long Island. Caroline Pierce is inside the cage with our winner.
Thanks, Sean. A victorious Andre the Bull Harrison. It must feel good after suffering the first defeat of your career last year to come back and get a win and pick up those 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good to start the season off with a win, but there's definitely more I could have done in there.
Well, it looked like the game plan was the takedowns and the top control. I mean, was that the plan going into the fight? We're going to take a look at it now.
No, not necessarily. It's just after that first exchange, I got in on his legs pretty good, so I was confident getting in, and I knew if I can get to the legs, I could finish. So.
Was there anything surprised you about Petties? I mean, he's got an unorthodox style, and you know he went for the flying knee at one point. Did anything catch you off guard?
No, that's pretty much what I expected. I figured he'd be kind of crafty striking and stuff, so, you know.
Nearly got the submission at the very end of the 3rd round. I mean, a little frustration there?
No, I mean, I would have loved to gotten the finish, but, you know, it's a little too late, I guess.
Well, you had huge support here in Long Island. Your fans certainly made some noise. Any words for them?
Long Island, what's up, baby?
Woo, let's give it up for your winner, Andre the Bull Harrison. Back to you, Sean.
Yeah. Get ready. Listen. What you wanna do? If you don't strike first, that's when they gon' come at you. Yeah. And you know it's true. Don't let your life get worse. Being timid, that ain't cool. Nah.